Okay, so hello, welcome to another wonderful start of our week. Today's Zoom is going to be a little bit like last week, is a mixed bag. I feel like there's so much I want to cover that I like having a few different topics for us to elaborate on throughout the week rather than dedicate a solid chunk of time to just like over elaborating on one thing. I think if you guys don't know this by now, I'm really into the thought provoking aspect of what I do because it leads you guys. It's the example of if you give someone a fish, they'll eat for a meal. If you teach them to fish, they'll eat for the rest of their life. So I feel like when we do these lessons, I really like to give you guys some thought provoking material to take away from it. Some tips, of course, but I care more that, and this happened from last week, I care more that we discuss individually throughout the week the things we cover in these Zooms. I think that they just hit home more that way. So today's mixed bag is going to be one, to stop waiting for life to be hard to do, stop waiting for life to be easy to do hard things. I use the example, stop waiting for life to clear the space for your results, start creating that space for yourself. And what that breaks down to is we wait for life to be easy to do hard things. And that's what screws us up all the time. Also, we're going to talk about how it's not a no, it's an instead of. You don't have to exclude yourself from life's things and feel like a completely different, like just outcast and stuff like that. This goes along with the negotiating the terms like we talked about last week. It's an instead of rather than no. And then how to stop comparing ourselves, because comparison, if you've heard me say this before, comparison is the killer of joy. It truly is. It's what takes us from feeling up here to feeling like dog shit the next minute. And it sucks to go up and down depending on who's around you to compare at the moment. So those are the three topics that I really want to tackle tonight. Let me turn down the aggressive TV volume. Horrible Bosses is on, if anybody's seen it. It's a fantastic movie. I feel like I've worked for every single one of them. So, first topic. Stop waiting for life to be easy to do hard things. And what does this translate into? It translates into us thinking of our threshold, right? And it may seem like we're just not planning. We're screwing up how to prioritize things. We're disaster. We're behind the eight ball, all of us. And what it really is that we decide our threshold and we decide what's within that threshold. Every day, you've probably all heard me say this at a ridiculous degree by now, but we don't have an infinite amount of mental energy. Every day, we have a certain set of mental energy. And once we spend all of that, we are done for the day. We're spent. And the only way to regenerate that is through sleep. So if sleep is a problem, that's a whole other bag of tricks, right? But what does that mean? What we're budgeting our mental energy on throughout the day, it decides for us the point of burnout when we're just spent and we can't handle anything else the rest of the day. And whereas people may think like, oh my God, I just can't figure out how to adult. Like I can't figure out how to navigate life. A lot of it is because we spend all of our mental energy during the day. And then at night, when we have a family relying on us for food or ourselves relying on us for food, we're like spent. It's the absolute last thing we really want to think about. Does anybody relate to this? Because I've definitely been there where I was like, oh, screw it. Just go to a drive-thru. Like I can't handle this. And we decide where that threshold is. So this translates into two things: managing where we budget our mental energy and also our mindset around the things we have to do in life. Because are they fun? Not usually. It's a lot more fun to be carefree, right? That's why when we go on vacation, life is amazing. We're not stressed. We don't got to deal with deadlines. We don't got to deal with anybody relying on us or disappointed by us. When we're on vacation, we can just be present. The idea is to be present like that every day, even when it's not vacation. And for everybody that's like, yeah, I know, girl, but it's not reality. It can be. It's all about how we budget our mental energy. So if you know to make your health better, to make your body be what you want it to look like, feel like, perform like, It takes a lot of time, it takes effort, and it's buildable. So rather than leaving that priority for last, depending on how our day went, do you think your days will go better if you've managed those other things? Like, do you think your very stressful day may be easier if you've taken care of the food, you've taken care of prioritizing your body and things like that? It could only help in conjunction with your day, because going through your stressful day when your body is not at its best and food, you're like, I don't know what the hell to cook. Like, that's an added layer of stress on top of your day. You may be saying, like, I mean, I have to do what I have to do during the day. I have bills to pay. I have responsibilities. Totally. I get that. But if you ever think about throwing the things you got to do for yourself out the window, I want you to realize completing your responsibilities or taking care of your responsibilities at half potential is always going to be harder, even if it doesn't seem it, because you're just go, 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 go all day long. So figure out where your mental energy goes. You know, some of you guys that are in this group who don't have day jobs, you know, you may be saying, I don't know how the hell all of my mental energy is gone during the day, and I still seemingly have gotten nothing done. My house is still a mess. I still don't know what the hell to cook. I'm still running around 10 minutes late to everything. All of that can be fixed by, one, taking 10 minutes. And you guys have heard me say this, it's like in exhaustion, I'm sure. You're probably going to be like, shut up. But it's so serious. Is take 10 minutes in the beginning of your day to jot down your intentions for the day. What you have to do. Oh, hey, Sam. Come here then. What you have to do and what you'd like to do. Okay, that simple thing. If you don't do the whole to-do list shebang with the schedule, if that's too much for you, at the very least, take 10 minutes to yourself in the beginning of the day to plan out what you absolutely is necessary to get done today and what you'd ideally like to do. Only 2 things, because I guarantee you once you do that, you're going to feel so much more together that once you accomplish those things and you're done, you're going to be like, I have free time. What else can I do? Or you're going to be like, I got those done. I don't feel like I'm dying inside right now, and I got those done. But either way, it's going to save you mental energy, which is what we're trying to reserve. Absolutely. Eat the frog. You know, whatever you pick out that you absolutely have to do first, what you have to do that day, pick out what you dread the most, and that's what you get done first. It's not fun by any sense of any stretch of the imagination, but in the long run, it's going to save you a lot of gray hair just figuring it out ahead of time and at least having a somewhat path. When it comes to the mentality of making these changes, whether it's, you know, deciding for yourself, okay, this is the day I am going to go to the store and buy what it is I need to eat for my body. This is the time I'm going to plan that out. Or these are the foods that I am going to say, I am not going to have those until I have a routine down pat with my food mostly. Whatever the case may be, when you have to make hard decisions or hard changes or change of your lifestyle at all, there's no good time to start. There's no good time to start. There's never going to be a period of time where things are going so great that you now have the time to do something major. Typically, say hi, Sam. Crazy. My office is hot as hell, so to avoid me passing out on screen, I'm in my living room. Sorry. But you want to figure out what it is you need to do to change your ways. Do you struggle the most with planning your meals? That's your frog. That's something you have to get good on first. Is it figuring out what you can and cannot eat? Is it figuring out alternatives for common fast food places you go to? Is it looking up recipes and learning how to cook for a week before deciding to be like good at it or not? You know, figuring these things out, there is no good time for you to do that where you're going to have a clear head and everything is going to be smooth, or you're going to have a lot more money than you usually do, or things like that. So if it's going to suck regardless, rip that Band-Aid off and just pick one thing to just get started on that you've been dreading. Because if we wait for life to be easy for that, we're going to be waiting forever. Okay, so that's the first one. There's no easy time to do hard things. Second here is it's not a no, it's an instead of. So what I mean by that is I've heard a lot from people, you know, I say I can't go out to eat with my friends. Like if they invite me somewhere, I'll have to tell them I can't because I can't eat anything when I'm at that restaurant. There is no I can't. It's just instead of. So if you know that there are certain things at that restaurant that you love, but it's not necessarily a worth it moment because you could go there at any friggin' given time, look and see what you can kind of finagle. Because the fear of asking for exceptions to be made, like if you're afraid of asking the staff to make like some modifications or whatever, I want you to ask yourself, is that waiter being slightly inconvenienced or maybe even thinking you're ridiculous? Maybe thinking, you know, well, you're fat. Why do you want these accommodations? Because I've been there. I've had people look at me and I know they were thinking like, really? You want me to go through the trouble of changing this? Okay. And it was when I was heavier that I got a lot more looks. It's just undeniable. When I was heavy, I got judged hard. It's why I do this. All of that, none of that matters. What matters is that when you go home, oh my God, dog, no. So sorry. What matters is when you go home at the end of the day, that you have peace and your body is feeling its best. Because why? Does that waiter matter more than the people around you that get to deal with you feeling sick and cranky and guilty and upset? Who gives a crap? Hopefully you tip well enough that if you go back to that restaurant, they're going to be like, you know what? I'll put up with her difficult ass. You know, because it is what it is. They're there to provide a service. And if you want to continue, if they want you to continue eating there, then their job isn't to judge. Their job is to bring you your shit. So don't be afraid to make exceptions for yourself. Think of things as instead of. When I get invited somewhere, my brain starts going, okay, let me figure out what I can have. I'll even call ahead of time and ask if the exception can be done. If truly, I think IHOP is the only restaurant I can't eat anything at. They even put flour in their eggs, by the way. Like literally everything at IHOP is carb filled and or gluten filled. So if somebody said, like a friend of mine suggested IHOP, I would find a different place that's kind of similar and say, well, I really want to go out with you. Would you mind if we went to this place instead? Because they have some more options of things I can eat. Unless your friend is a jerk, they're going to be like, oh, okay. Like as long as it's in like kind of the same price range and it's not too far. And what really is the problem here? And if they really want to go to that restaurant, they have the power to go there whenever they want. They're not inviting you out to lunch because they really want to try this restaurant or like they can't not try that with anyone else. They want to hang out with you, hopefully. So if you come in with a recommendation of a different place, they're not going to be like, oh God, what an asshole. Like maybe they will if they suck. If you come in and say, well, I can't eat there. Yeah, then they're going to probably be like, God, she's difficult. But if you come ready with another option, like you've done your research, like it's truly like you're making an effort to spend time with them, think about their wants in terms of the restaurant and provide a compromise, any friend who deserves to be your friend isn't going to have that be the deal breaker. And then you can go and enjoy food and not have to worry about feeling sick or guilty. Does that help? Tell me how you're liking this. I got the chat over here. Yeah, IHOP almost killed me many years ago. Ordered scrambled eggs and was told it was no carbs, lies, pancake batter in the eggs. Yep. I could never figure out why IHOP used to make my blood sugars go nuts. And that's why. It's just ridiculous. Even their yogurt has something like 12 teaspoons of sugar in it. It's just ridiculous. Who the hell goes to IHOP and orders yogurt, though? Me. I'm the weirdo. Yeah, so that's the thing. It's not a no, it's an instead of. Start getting excited by the challenge of figuring out different things that you still like. It might not come to you right away. You may have to text me at first and learn about how to kind of, I call it zhuzh, how to zhuzh what it is you want to eat or where it is you want to go. But there is almost always an instead of, and it doesn't have to be a no. Because we all know this, when we tell ourselves no long enough, it becomes a screw it the first chance that you can. And that's what you don't want. You want to feel in charge of the moments where you eat a worth it thing. Not, by the seat of your pants. It just so happens that I had a bad day or I'm running late or whatever. I've been telling this story a lot on my calls this week, and I think it's really helpful. Those of you who have heard it already, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to repeat it because I think it's valuable. I want you to think of it as there's a spectrum, right? Oh, I can use this little doodaddy. Hold on. Okay. So there's a spectrum, right? Do I have a line here? Look at this, so fancy. It's probably crooked. On one side, you have no change. On one side, you have, what the hell word is that? Perfection. And in the middle, you have the middle ground or negotiating the terms, if you remember that from last group lesson last week. Okay, so on one side, you have absolutely zero change. And on this side, you have the absolute anxiety of perfection. I had a client this week who was self-proclaimed addicted to fast food. And she was really upset because she had finally kicked her fast food habit. And after 2 months of having no fast food, she now went and she caved in. She said, I'm so mad I gave in. And I'm like, well, what did you give in? Because that sounds like a binge. Like, it sounds like you had a bad day at work, or maybe you were just tired and it was convenient. What is really like caving in that she goes, well, no, I had an hour and a half. I had a meeting that ran an hour and a half beyond what it was supposed to. And I had like 20 minutes to get to my next appointment. And if I didn't, I wouldn't eat again till 10 p.m. that night probably. And I hadn't really eaten. So I was like, okay, so you didn't give in. You did what you had to do and you fed your body because you need to eat. And she's like, yeah, but I had fast food. I'm like, well, what did you have? She's like, well, I had a grilled chicken sandwich, but I took the bread off. And then I had a side salad and I got rid of the croutons. And then I had chili, but I didn't eat the beans because I don't like beans. So I just had the broth and the beef. So I was like, what did you do wrong? That's amazing. She was like, well, I had fast food. I haven't had fast food in so long. I was so proud of myself. And she was kicking herself, even though she wasn't here in no change, but because she wasn't here in perfection, which I asked her, I said, what is perfection to you? And she said, having all my meals prepped, having my Tupperwares with me, being able to eat in the car on the way there and have my food ready to go. But here's the thing about perfection. It's not always reality, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. It means that you just have to do the best with what's in front of you. And when you do that and you don't tell yourself no, you say instead of, and you don't beat yourself up because saying no leads to perfection and saying, what the hell, let's see what I can do with this isn't perfect. All you're doing is stopping yourself from progress, because the only thing we want is to not be here at no change. So if you have to pick going to a restaurant and instead of having the bun on your burger and instead of eating the whole order of fries, you have a few French fries, it's not the end of the world. It's just being okay with that middle of the ground approach. But that in the long run is what leads to lasting results. It's when we focus on being perfect is when we fall off. And it makes us have more resentment for the thing that we're doing. It makes us hate it even more, because I got to get back on is the most commonly used thing I've ever heard when it comes to diets. And it's always difficult. And it's not because we're slobs. It's because we dread it to our core. When you remove the dread, things aren't so hard to maintain. Is this making sense? Is this connecting with you guys? So I love using the whiteboard. It's so thrilling. Okay. So, just keep that in mind. If you like the way something tastes and you can't have it, start to think about how you can make it instead. With the waffles, with the pancakes that I make, with the chicken, using the pork rind breadcrumbs. all these, figure out what the component of a meal you really like is. Is it the bread? Is it the meat? Is it the flavor? And then seek to recreate that with something that will be good for your body. So you can still get that satisfaction of the flavor or the bread or whatever, but you're just tweaking that one component that's going to work against your body to now work with it. Get excited about figuring this out. As much as it might suck right now, when you figure it out and it becomes like second nature and you see the results physically in your body and you feel better, you're going to be just over the moon, because whereas before you may have not had to think about food as much, sure, you also didn't feel great, and you also didn't like the way you looked, and you didn't like where you were going in life. But now you can have different versions that you still like and be working towards what you want. That's the ultimate goal. That's what we're all taking this time and invested in to get to. So just keep that in mind. There is no, I can't have that. There's what I can have instead. I'm going to read the comments after I get through this next point here, the comparing, because I want to make sure we have time for this. Comparison. Comparison is the killer of joy, but it's not always another person that we're comparing ourselves to. I know I talk about that a lot, but what we have to watch out for the most is this imaginary baseline comparison that we have in our head of what is good and what is bad about us. What normal people, I think every call this past week almost has dealt with, I want to be normal, that around that topic. And through life, we are given things that show us what is good and what is bad. Media, fashion, TV, just so much stuff that we're inundated with of what it is to be normal. What's normal? Being completely and utterly perfectly healthy. Guys, the US is a pretty sick country. Like we're as a people, we're generally pretty sick. So there really isn't much of a normal. There's just, I guess, a lot of the people you meet, think about this. How many of them are hiding the way they really feel, the way you hide how you really feel when you're out there? It's kind of like a mind-blowing thing when you think about it. Do people that you meet or people at work or colleagues or friends, anybody, do they really know what goes on in your head and in your body? No. On the surface, you probably seem normal to them if they don't really know. And likewise for them. You know how many thin people I know who are miserable or who are absolutely sick? And you can't tell. I use my sister as an example all the time. People think, she looks great. She lost so much weight. And meanwhile, she can't eat. And she throws up for days sometimes. People don't know. When you meet somebody, you don't know what battle they're facing. You don't know that the person you're wishing so badly to be like is sitting there wishing more than anything to have your life. Or hating who they are. Meanwhile, you're wishing to be them, and we don't even know what they go through or what they feel on a day-to-day. So keep that in mind when you compare yourself to anybody and everybody. If you're one of those people where it's like you get dressed up, you're feeling great, you go to a party and somebody looks better than you, and you're immediately sulking in the back, not wanting to talk real loud, kind of like rethinking your outfit, wondering why your hair looks that crappy because you thought it looked great, really noticing how your hairline's moving back, like you start picking yourself apart. I want you to stop and realize that those people aren't viewing you as not as good as me. They're sitting there thinking about themselves and what they wish they could change. You can be the outlier and not have to worry and be consumed with what you wish you could change. This topic really gets me deeply because I compared myself all the time. And it was with everything. It was with other diabetics. It was with other bakers at work when I was at the factory. That was like the hardest because I couldn't physically do a lot. Like I would push myself and then I'd injure myself. I would try to be the she-man that was carrying, 80-pound buckets of fondant on both arms and, everything because I saw one person doing that, that probably, I don't know, lifts or something. Like I'm not by any stretch an athlete, So my point to this is, who's really holding us to the standard in which we think we should be comparing ourselves? Who's really giving that much of a I know we got kids watching. Oh wait, I see earphones on Ashley, so we're good. But who's really making that comparison? Or is it just us, just being mean to us because we're not how we wish we could be? So before you brand it as normal, being envious of normal, don't. Instead of comparing yourselves to normal, start getting specific on what you go through that you don't want to anymore. That should be your focus, not what others have that you don't, just on what you want to have. Because it's always doable. We got time. You know, none of us, thank God, like knock wood, none of us are terminal here. We're just fed up. And I get that after being fed up for so long, you want it to change yesterday. And you want it to happen without stressing about it because you don't necessarily know how to change that yet. But that comes in time, and it comes in learning what it is you want and how to get it, and trying again and again and again until you get that. You heard my Dyson example? Is it ringing any bells? So I'm just gonna say it again. You guys love my repeats, but it's important here. Dyson, to get their first ever like well-functioning prototype, they had to try 5,122 attempts. So they failed 5,122 times. They thought they hammered it down. They thought they got it down pat. They made it change and they hoped that it worked 5,122 times. They're a multi-billion-dollar company that's been around for 15 years now. And it took them, I think, 15 years to get those 5,122 attempts down. They could have pulled the plug at any moment and said, maybe we're just not cut out for this. Maybe I'm not destined to have this invention work out. You know, we're letting everybody down because it's not happening fast enough. That's a big one. You know, we've had these issues for decades. And then when it doesn't happen right away, it's because it's us, rather than it's just another prototype. It's another back to the drawing board moment. You have unlimited back to the drawing board moments in your life. We all do. It's just about how you want to seize that. And when you find something that's not working for you, it's okay to say, this isn't working for me. I need to fix this. And try your hardest to do that. So before you compare yourself next time, or you say, my life would be so much better if I had this, that, the other thing, start asking yourself, well, why can't I have that? Like, why? It might not be what the case is right now, but I got time. Why can't I work my damnedest? Like try my damnedest, work my ass off to get there one day. Because we all can. It's just up here. It's just us deciding that I'm resilient enough to keep figuring this out until I'm happy with who I am. Not when I'm like this person or I'm normal. That may never happen. I am a whack job. Like, I'll never change. I'm a quirky person. And I used to hate that. I used to want to be like everybody else. I used to want to blend in. I used to want to enjoy a 9-to-5 job and not feel like my skin was crawling being in that. I wanted to have an easy life, and I made it harder on myself, and I didn't know why. And I hated all of these things about myself. I hated that I looked like a 15-year-old boy as a female in like second grade. You know, like I really didn't like any of that. I didn't think it was individual and cool. I just couldn't stand it. I hated being in pain when everybody else seemed fine. And I felt like, you know, here comes the big girl who's like, you know, I'm sure she sits home and eats Whoppers all day. Maybe if she didn't, she wouldn't be in so much pain. I know what that feels like. It sucks. But at the end of the day, you can either accept defeat about it, or you can decide that isn't who I am. And I'm not normal. I'm whoever the hell I am, but it doesn't mean I can't be happy within that realm, and I can't live my efficient life within that realm and be satisfied with it. So my hope is that we get all of you to that point where you are content exactly in your imperfection, because it's what makes each and every one of us so different and valuable, honestly. So what do we think? Share your thoughts. I want to hear any questions. I'm going to read these comments real quick while you guys send them over. Yeah, I have Alyssa, they put it in the egg mix. There is an egg mix that sits there in a vat, and it's got pancake mix all up in it. They don't They don't have fresh eggs, which is like a startling thing. That's what I found. Because I said, don't you just guys just have some eggs in the back? Like, and they were like, no, we have egg whites in cartons and we have like whole eggs in cartons and it's pre-mixed. Yeah. In our national house of pancakes, my ass. So my mind was blown when he told me that about, okay, IHOP. That's why I look for local places with real food, no processed crap. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to work within your means, like your middle ground. And if it's only places that have processed crap, you got to do the best with what you got. But if you can pick more natural sources, it's always better. You always have more options that way because they can make they can alter it. If it's not, you know, like chains are very hard to have alterations. Ugh, sorry. Yes, it helps. And really, if any friend gets upset, then get new friends. Harsh, but there is no need to make excuses or feel bad because there isn't anything worth eating. Yeah. But not only that, I want you guys to hear this when it comes to friendships, because people are so afraid, I think, to ruffle feathers or lose friends. Because I get it. How embarrassing if the reason you lost a friend was because you're on a diet and you needed a special place to go. But on the other hand of that, the other side of that, how crappy would you feel if your friend came to you and said, I can't eat anything there. Here is an extremely similar alternative where we could still be in each other's company and I can eat without being sick or eat without derailing the work that I'm putting in all the time behind the scenes. How crappy would you feel to be like, no, I really want IHOP? You're difficult. You would never do that. So why be friends with somebody who doesn't share that same amount of compassion, empathy, and just go with the flow? Idness. I made up a word, you know, but be selective with your friends. I promise you. It's not the highway to loneliness. It's the highway to find people in your life that value you and raise you up instead of make you live in a way that you're not happy with just to keep them around. Okay. We were planning date night for Friday and I find myself researching places so I don't stress in the moment. So accurate, adapting. Great. That's awesome. You know, I try to think of it as fun, as silly as that may seem. Like I go on Yelp or any of like the food review, like TripAdvisor or anything like that. And I start to enjoy like looking for new cool places. Like I'll change the radius so it's a little bit farther maybe some days. And it becomes like another facet of our date night is like finding the next place to get turned on to that we love, you know? Instead of it being like, oh, I can't eat anything here. It's like, let's find a place that's got stuff we can eat that's good. Before I spill my glucose tabs all over my couch. Okay. Like your crepes. I can't wait. I'm going to try that tomorrow morning, actually. Yes, me and the frozen pizza bagels I made. So good. My mom said that to me today after her weekend with friends. I need to get back on my diet. I had to correct her statement. Yeah, it happens all the time. Freaking hate the term diet. Like I hate it. There's no easier way really. What am I going to say? You're eating lifestyle, you know? So I say diet so it's quick. But diet in a traditional sense, We talked a lot about comparison in college, art major, and how we will always feel like someone is better skill-wise than we are. It's really hard not to compare, but I feel like I've made so much progress in that and to remind myself that I'm not on the exact same path or journey as anyone else. Yeah, there is no baseline for many of the things that we hold ourselves to in terms of standards. You know, people saying, well, I haven't lost any weight in this week or this month. Guys, it took me 6 months to lose my first 15 pounds. You know, I mean, it might have been a little bit shorter because I just gave up the scale and I was like, I don't give a shit what this does. This thing never makes me happy. So I'm done with it. I'm just going to do the things that make me feel better. I'm going to figure out how to do this in an easy way. And whatever happens, happens. And wouldn't you know it, people start commenting. They're like, oh, I can see your face. You're losing weight. And I was like, maybe. And then like I finally got on the scale and I was like, this is the first time I lost 15 pounds. Okay. And I was in my 20s. It was the first time I ever lost 15 pounds in one stint. And it happened. It just happened. I don't know, but it was 6 months before people started noticing and I actually weighed myself. And you got to remove the pressure. There is no time frame. Anybody on Instagram that's putting time frames in your mind, just unfollow them because you're not gaining anything from their profile except a complex. That's the word. A complex. That's all you're gaining from looking at them. So that's a big tip for comparison. Go through your social media accounts. Get rid of anybody that doesn't make you feel joy looking at their page, because you're not missing out on some groundbreaking information that's going to change your whole life on there. It's just kind of filler, you know? So get rid of the noise. I guard my friends and my following really, really closely, because I'm not letting any extra things in here that make me feel any differently than I should. Dyson was like Einstein inventing the light bulb. Yeah, honestly. And that little ball they have in there, they charge an extra $1,000 just for the little friggin' ball in there. I put that on my wedding registry stat. I didn't even know how good it was. Oh God, yeah. What a sap. Being normal isn't necessarily a virtue, rather denotes a lack of courage. Ooh, I like. It's definitely, it takes courage to be yourself. You know, we're all trying to fit in. We're all, the Kardashians have the same face at this point. You know, we're all just trying to be something that we're not, instead of looking at what we are and trying to fall in love with that and get better at that. And we'll never be someone else. I don't care if you have the Kardashians plastic surgeon on speed dial, you ain't ever going to be them. So what the hell's the point? Marilyn Monroe said, imperfection is beauty. Yep. Let's see. I missed your Edison thing too. I said Einstein too. That went right over my head. Whatever. I'm glad you corrected it, because I wouldn't have thought to. So yeah, at least you had autocorrect. I just had, oh, it's Einstein. I have a friend who just had a bariatric and in a couple months is down 50 pounds. And I have to remember our journeys are so differently. Yeah, I read that as Marilyn Manson. I'm thinking of Marilyn Manson saying imperfection is beauty now. Anyway, I have a friend who just had bariatric surgery. Here's the thing. Most bariatric surgeries fail these days. Did you guys know that? No matter what, they literally go in and reduce the size of your stomach. They put a chokehold on your whole damn stomach, right? Or they take part of it off, whatever the method that they're using is. And it still doesn't work after the initial part. I cannot tell you how many people, including my mother-in-law and kind of my mom, she's bouncing back and forth now, and a lot of other clients that have been through this academy and others that just will be. Bariatric surgery is not the end all be all. They lose weight rapidly at first because, one, they're losing all the water weight that they've gained during surgery, which makes your body swell. They don't tell you that either, that they can gain sometimes 20, 30 pounds of water weight that get dropped over the weeks following surgery. They have a mass difference because usually portion control is the problem. And then they go ahead and restrict themselves down to a medicine cup full of food at first, or they live on liquids or liquid vitamins. It's really hard recovery. And then they are out in the world and they have to eat and they don't know what to do. So they eat the way they always have. And the body adjusts and the stomach grows more again. And the mind tells them what they want to eat. And they'll eat sometimes to the point of puking and then going back and eating again because they haven't dealt with the psychological aspect of their weight. They only dealt with the physical aspect of their weight, which is literally restricting calories to the point of eating a medicine cup full of food. That doesn't last. And what happens is the anguish that comes from them gaining weight back after going through the extreme measure of surgery, which many think is like the last resort, it usually destroys them because they're like, if this didn't work for me, truly, if a surgeon going in and cutting off a piece of my freaking stomach didn't work long term, I'm shot. Nothing's going to help. It's a really big issue. It's like more of a detriment than anything. And doctors are getting incentivized to push their clients towards bariatric surgery now. Really messed up. Yeah. So I know I blabbed on a lot. I know I kind of went all over the place, but I hope that you took away some really important key points. I hope that at the very least you feel better about going through tomorrow and through the rest of the week, you know, knowing that none of us are perfect by any stretch. And we're all figuring out how to live our best life, our easiest life in a way that is helping our bodies. But that takes time. So I'm always proud of you guys, no matter what. I see progress in all of you just showing up week to week. And I hope that the rest of your week is filled with peace. And if not, I am a text away. All right. So bye.